Attention! The National Weather Service has issued a hurricane warning for the entirety of the National Hockey League. Please stay tuned for further information from the Storm Cellar.
Welcome back to the Storm Cellar Grade the Canes edition, Ray. Draft day review. Have a couple of trades and free agent signings that have happened. We took a couple weeks off. Have we recorded since the Panthers actually won? Did we congratulate the Panthers? I don't think we did.
No. It was just 2 days before they closed it out. I don't know that anyone was really. I don't know that anyone was really surprised, but congrats to the Panthers. That it's why Rod said they were the gold standard, and he's right. He's right.
The good news is they play the Canes system. Well, unfortunately, better than the Canes right now because they're a little,
sadly,
a little more gritty about it. But I think that bodes well for what we're doing in Carolina. So,
oh yeah, there's more and more people and teams that are coming around to play that kind of style too. It's not just the Hurricanes were kind of the trailblazers in that aspect, and now more and more are saying, they've been there 7 straight years and they're always winning at least one series. There might be something to this.
Right. And evident in the draft, a lot of draft picks were, we've seen more bigger guys going. The Canes themselves, man, we'll get to the Canes prospects here in a few minutes, but the Canes, at least prospect wise, went big. 6'3", 5, I think. But
huge.
To no one's surprise, I think, the Islanders take Matthew Schaefer, number 1 overall.
Yep.
Offensive defenseman, right?
One of the predictable
one of the many things that they need.
Among other things.
Yeah, I don't want to go through everything because there's a million podcasts that'll do that, and I'm sure everybody who's listening already knows all the things, right?
Yeah,
Montreal
exactly.
and Islanders swapped some picks around. Islanders picked 3 times in the first. For an Islander team that they desperately probably needed that, and I think they probably got, good return on their investment, I would say. So
there was rumor that they were actually shopping some of those picks too, and then in the end decided to hold on to them and got themselves a couple of great players. So, sometimes things work out despite your best, efforts to make it otherwise. But those picks, there are a lot of people that were saying that, they were actually shopping them around to see if they could, whatever. And then in the end just said, nah, let's just make the picks. And they made a couple of good ones. So,
yeah, I think so.
That's how that they did pretty well for themselves.
Yeah. The least surprising things in the draft. One is Carolina traded down. You and I love hockey. Our lives, at least on some level, are built around hockey season and hockey schedules.
Indeed.
Neither of us watched the whole thing. Did you? You didn't watch the whole thing, did you?
No, I jumped into it. Geez, what time was it? It was about 10 minutes before the Hurricanes pick. 10 or 15 minutes before the Hurricanes pick, and not on purpose, just a busy life, busy doing things. Right. And then I thought, oh, hey, you know what? Maybe, it should be late in the thing here. We're picking 29th. So yeah, let's get watching. So I'm watching and waiting. And then I'm thinking to myself, this is the first round. We're not making a pick. What are you doing?
Exactly, right?
You could be doing anything else, right? He's dropping back. And lo and behold, and it was actually the Sportsnet group kind of made a joke out of it. Are they actually going to make a pick in the first round this time? And the trade alert thing comes up. Nope.
Yep. Yeah. I watched the first 2 picks. I watched the first 2 picks and was like, drafts to me, unless it's like the All-Star game, they're live, it's fun. Like when the draft was in Raleigh, I went and we had a blast, which I think that's the year we got, I think it was Andrew Ladd, maybe.
Oh man.
A lot of fun.
Nice.
Drafts on TV are like a bad reality show where like the intensity are building tension by stringing things out. And there was production problems across the board. It was super boring. So I had a draft tracker up, so I was following along, but I'm like, I can't. It's like a baseball game, right? Like a 4-hour Red Sox Yankees game of old. Like it's not worth 4 hours of my time, so I'm not going to watch it. I just give me the score updates, right?
Yeah.
So no surprise to anyone, I think, that the Hurricanes trade down out of the first round. Because if there's a guy they want, they'll stay there. But unless they, they're looking for who's gonna fall that we can get at a better, at a better deal. The second thing I think that came as no surprise to anyone who's paying attention is a lot of Russians. Teams are still scared of picking Russians to worried about getting them over, those kind of things. The Hurricanes have no such issues with that. So as you said, we trade out of the first round with Chicago, I believe it was.
Yeah.
We end up with the 34th and 62nd overall.
Yep.
Then in round 3, you pick 87. Then round 4, 2 in round 6, and round 7. So overall, very happy with that, right? So 7 players picked on day 2.
Man, oh man.
And overall, I think we did good here. And I honestly, I pulled up what Canes prospects had to say because, I think Nick and those guys know these guys way better than we do.
Sure.
And I'm going to butcher these names because I'm still learning them. And sorry, guys.
Apologies.
But Semyon Frolov, that's an easier one, right? With our first pick. Goalie prospect. Smart move.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I'll say this, when you look at all of the descriptions of his style of play, I'm like, we already got that exact goaltender.
Oh, he's definitely another spicy goalie. He is definitely another goalie who might need to be tethered to the goal.
Yeah. He's Kochetkov, another one. The just pure athleticism, plays and throws himself all over the ice to make a stop or whatever. He relies on athleticism as opposed to, say, I don't know, form is maybe the best way to describe it. Like he's just ultra talented and big and
6'3", 200 pounds, big boy.
Yep.
And that's kind of the Russians' thing is it's not about limiting motion. It's not about form like a Freddie Anderson. Like the Russians are, it's more of a feel, right? I almost think of it like maybe like an F1 driver, right?
Oh yeah.
You really have to be in tune with what's going on so that you just in the moment, this feels like the right thing to do and you kind of go with it. Frolov was ranked 2nd for international goalies by NHL Central Scouting. Darren York, Kansas assistant GM, said, I think, he to Darren York and the Canes, he was the number 1 goalie prospect. He was their top rated goalie prospect, and they grabbed him in the 2nd round. So
I wonder how he dropped.
Most indications seem to be just that because he's in Russia, and a lot of teams are still gun shy about that. I mean, the Canes got burned by that many years ago, where we drafted. And I forget the name now. In the first round, we drafted a Russian kid, and he never left. And that ends up being a blown first round pick. And now teams are just, I think, still scared of that. So, but I was really happy to see them bolster goalie. That was the priority. I was really happy to see that.
Yep. Yeah, no question.
Pick number 2 came with Charlie Serrato out of Penn State. This was one of those guys who I don't know anything about. Like he was off my radar. I think Canes prospects knew a little bit about him. He went to Penn State. He's a natural center. He's got a good 2-way game. I think he's a little older, if I recall. So that was kind of the knock there. He's already 20, which isn't old, but I think some of that's hockey mindset. You're used to kids going to major juniors and being drafted like
Yeah.
18. But now a lot of kids are going to the NCAA, and some of them are like, I want to win an NCAA championship, or I want to complete my 4 years of college. And so the kids come out of college tend to be a little older, but I don't know that that makes them any worse, right? 6 foot, 190 pounds. So he's not huge, but you know,
he's got talent. And the one thing that was pointed out from, the analysts that I had seen is that the program itself, Penn State, is really coming around. Like they're actually pretty solid team. So his development and so forth has been in good hands. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe it's not, Boston U or what, you know what I mean? Like, but they've got a good program going and talented individuals. So,
yep, and a point per game guy at Penn State. So,
yeah,
it's
the highlights that
in
they
some ways
showed.
That sounds like a lot. Yeah, you kind of want that in a guy coming out of college, because as he goes to the next level, that production's going to fall off. But you need to be kind of dominant at college to have a shot at the next level. So so you're kind of looking for like point per game guys if you're looking at like forwards in particular. So
yeah, no question.
Pick 62, Ivan Ryabkin, probably killing that one too. Sorry, Ivan.
Rybkin, yeah.
Rybkin,
you did it all right.
I'm terrible. I will learn. We all know, like, I will get better here. This is the one where I think Canes, there were two guys at Canes Prospects was like, oh my God, yes. And I feel like this was one of them, if memory serves.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to be like a top 20 guy who fell all the way to 62, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy I think who's out of shape, if memory is serving here.
Yes,
so he's the guy who, when he wants to play, is dynamic and could be the kind of guy you want. And when he's not interested, he's going to float, right? So he interviewed poorly. He was overweight, I think, at the NHL Combine. But he could be a top 6 forward with power play potential, according to Kane's stats. And you got to think that if there's a coach who can get him on board with the system, it's Rod Brind'Amour. Because even when Rod Brind'Amour's interviewing, like, to this day, Rod is still like, you get up and you hit the gym and then you do breakfast and then you do these things, because otherwise you won't do it. So if there's a player who needs somebody to say, hey, we're going to get you into a routine, you need to stick to it. If Rod can't do it, the kid's probably not going to make it. Like, I don't know.
No,
I don't know that I would trust anybody else.
It kind of surprised me. It was one of the descriptions of him. 5'11", 210 pounds. One of the analysts described him as built like a fire hydrant.
He's a chunky boy for a hockey player.
Yeah, but doesn't mind getting feisty as well. Likes to go to the front of the net. But again, there's a reason why he dropped the way he did. And, that combine that they have, it says a lot. And like I said, this one kind of confused me a little bit based on what was said. He doesn't exactly scream, what Carolina is all about, right? Like he looks like a thing of clay that you're going to have to mold. It looks like you've got something there, but it's going to take some fine tuning and maybe a little more than just fine tuning to get what you want and what he could be. So let's wait and see. But again, you know what? All right. I was amazed at how many people were coming. Or sorry, and this is going to sound derogatory. I don't mean it to. I was surprised at how many of these players were coming out of USHL. And you know what I mean? Like, they are putting out a lot of great players. There were a lot of Americans that were picked and Russians too, especially for us, but it was really interesting. It was really interesting. Like, you didn't hear a lot of, like, certainly not from, the WHL, not a lot of picks that jumped out
QMJ,
of that, right? So it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to your point, we took 3, if not 4 guys from Dynamo Moscow. I mean, we're like, so these guys already know each other. They already play together, I think this is look, it's pick 62. It's the end of the second round. This kid originally was slotted in the top 20, like somewhere between 10 and 20. This is the Mikko Rantanen equivalent of the draft. Eric Tulsky said, hey,
good call.
This pick is going to be, it is what it is. Like, this is where you take a flyer. We're going to take a flyer on this kid. If we hit, I'm a genius. And if we miss, nobody's going to remember in 3 years.
And that's, you know what? And that's the thing about the draft. Infinitely more players picked in the draft, no matter where in the draft, never really make it. Like,
it's really hard.
It's really, really hard. And, now you're seeing a lot of players just, going international or whatever, because they can still make their money or whatever. They can make a little bit of money playing pro hockey, but if you can't make it here, that's where they go now. So you see a lot of players going that way.
Yeah. Pick number 4. This was the other guy that Canes Prospects was like, yes, oh my God, and how did he drop so low?
Yeah.
So Kurban Limatov, a left-handed defenseman who is he's huge in terms of he's 6'4". He's only 190, so he's kind of I don't want to say frail. I almost said frail. He's not a big boy, but again, you put him on a Cane, get him working out on a Canes-based regiment, and he's his strength and conditioning. He's going to put on a few pounds, right?
Yeah.
6'4", 190, left-hand D, and his defense is coming along. He's definitely an offensive guy. Canes Prospect said that if he gets developed correctly, he could be a top 4 defenseman in this league.
Yeah.
And he's very aggressive, offensively and defensively. Like, the kid wants the puck on his stick. He also wants to go after people. So to play man-to-man, I think he's exactly what you need. And perhaps the best fact about this kid is when he was asked, like, who do you think is the best defenseman in the NHL? He said, me in 5 years. I mean, the stones of this kid. You gotta
love that. Yeah.
Hurricanes fans love the gritty, upbeat Jarvis, Kochetkov, Blake, Stankoven, Battler. That we like that mold. This kid is going to fit in great. Other than he's 6'4". He's going to be much taller than the normal Kane. But this is another one of those. If this works out, what a steal!
And one of the things that they had pointed out with him is, yes, he's not, he's tall, a little on the thin side, but for a person as tall as he is a great skater. And that means closing gaps. And that, that's a big thing that has to be done now by defensemen. They got to be able to close gaps, but you know what? He could put the puck in the net too. I don't know. It's nice. And he's aggressive, right?
He's aggressive. A half point per game player. So
that's all right. That's all right. He's developing. How young are these guys again? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and he's 18. He's a baby. Like, of all the babies we have around, he is one of them. But
No
exactly for a
question.
half a point per game for a defenseman who's not necessarily going to be like a power play guy or anything, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Third round, pick 87 we got from Tampa. Roman, is it Basov maybe? Sorry, Roman.
Basov.
I've only read these
Yeah, I'm not
names. I
sure.
didn't watch the draft, I admit.
Yeah, I didn't
Another
see some of
18-year-old
these either.
kid. Another kid playing with Dynamo St. Petersburg. 6'5" and 190 pounds. So we're getting taller, but not putting on muscle. Same deal, right? This kid is going to need to bulk up a little bit, as all 18-year-olds do. You know, we think of
Mhm.
18-year-olds, particularly in the West, as adults because, I mean, that's a legal thing, right?
Yeah.
They're still growing in their bodies for another 4 or 5 years after 18. Like, they're not really hitting their strides until they're 24, 25. So, you know, all these kids need some seasoning. But again, this is your shutdown D guy, right? Not so much on the
Yeah.
offensive side, but this is the guy who maybe is a Jacob Slavin replacement style. I don't mean he's going to be as good as Slavin because
No, no.
those come around once a generation, but that's going to be more of his speed, is all I'm saying. So,
And another big guy that skates really, really well. You said 190, and the information that I saw is that he's even skinnier than our last pick. He like 179 was the listing for him. So
yeah, they fudge these
I
numbers a
mean,
lot.
I sure hope they fudged numbers in the wrong direction. You know what I mean?
Total random non sequitur. Really tall, skinny people are much more likely to get spontaneous pneumothoraxes. So, our last couple picks should just be careful. If you feel a sharp pop in your chest and something hurts, like get checked out right away. Just
Yeah,
random fun
no
fact from when I was at
question.
EMS.
Look at that. Love it. Love it.
Uh, then the Canes skip a couple rounds, right? You drop all the way down to pick 183, also from Tampa in round 6. And we get not a Russian.
Surprising, right?
It's our second non-Russian out of 6 picks.
Yeah.
Out of Sweden, the Sweden Junior League, Vigo Norland, who
Yeah.
registered 49 points in 40 regular season games. He was the alternate captain in Swedish top junior league. He had some playoff points. This is a guy who, Canes prospects kind of said, at round 6 and 7, you just it's kind of a crapshoot, and you just kind of go, we have a gut feeling about this. Now, this guy is more typical proto Canes,
Right.
as he's listed at 5'9", which is weird because in this case, people think, well, he actually may be bigger than 5'9". He may be 5'10" or so.
Yeah.
But regardless, he's sub 6 feet. I don't know anything about this other than what I read on Canes Prospects. And, could he be a top 9, forward? It looks like that's potential, but at this point, it's just that, right? It's potential. You don't know. You just, it's round 6. What are you going to do? Just you take a flyer, you see a kid, you get a feeling on, and you go for it.
These are the things that when you look at them and you're getting down, I mean, there's always those lightning in a bottle picks that are late. You know what I mean? And you hear about all the great picks that were selected, 5th, 6th round or whatever, and they just explode. What I like about this is a lot of these picks, you call, and we've kind of called them works in progress. They're in a good situation being in this program to be developed properly and over time. Like, this is where the bottleneck to getting in onto the team, because it's so difficult, actually works a little bit in your favor, because there's more seasoning that comes with the younger guys, and you get a better chance to see how they're developing, which then makes them trade valuable, I guess. If the team remains a bottleneck to get onto it, as we suspect it's going to be, a lot of these kids may end up being flipped for
Mhm.
something different, proven players and so forth in the league. So, and that's really the story, how it is for every team. But Carolina's been developing, like, we've got a great system, right? Like, a lot of great talent that just has been unable to crack the lineup. It says what we have in the farm systems and so forth. So these are all right. And with Nordland, it's funny, we don't have a lot of Swedes. I mean, not normally. That we prefer Finns, which to me that's fine. You know,
Yeah.
but the one thing that they said about Nordland is how quick he can be through the neutral zone. He can
Which is
really
something we
turn,
need.
and that's something we really need. So yeah, this was a good pick, and hopefully
I
he can
like it.
develop. Yeah, no question.
Our last pick, pick number 221, round 7. Philip Ekberg,
Yep.
played for the Ottawa 67, so North American kid.
Mhm.
Um, a co- it's really interesting in all sports, but in the NHL, when they look at a guy's height, if it doesn't start with a 6, a lot of teams will pass them over regardless of skill. They just and this feels like one of those picks.
Yeah,
This kid, he had a pretty good season overall. 44 points in 53 games, right, with his junior team for the last couple of years.
yeah,
Then this year, he gets to represent Sweden at the 2025 IIHF Under 18 World Championship. And he puts
yeah,
up 18 points, 10 goals, and 8 assists in 7 games to lead everyone in goals. I mean, the kid can flat out put the puck in the net. I've been
yeah,
asking for a shooter, a goal scorer, selfish hockey. Like, I mean, this kid went really low compared to what I think he really deserved. But I'm not going to complain because he came to Carolina. This is what every team should do, and not all of them
yeah,
do, is you want to mix. You want some guys who have a very high floor
yeah,
with maybe a lower ceiling, that like these guys should at least be in our system, even if they never make the NHL. These are
yeah,
AHLers. These are guys who are going to be there and reliable. Then you want a couple of guys who could be boom or bust. And we got a couple of those as well, right?
yeah,
Especially a couple of the Russians. These guys could be really dynamic and great for us, or they could fizzle out. We didn't pick a first rounder, so it's funny because people value first rounders because it feels like you should take better players in the first round. But we've
yeah,
all seen the Canes repeatedly, Aho, Slavin,
yeah.
they
Lots
find
of
guys
players.
in these lower rounds that looking back, you go, yeah, he should have been taken higher. Like, why did he fall? Like people misread the tea leaves.
Yeah,
And the Canes have a great job of doing that. So this is the kind of kid where potentially in the future, somebody's going to be like, how did he drop all the way to
how
7?
did it? Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I'll
But
tell you something
overall,
too.
go ahead, man.
He could have been a much bigger factor in the O because he got a late start. Like, he was sick to start the season. And
Oh, well, yeah.
so it took him a while to, to get going and stuff. And so those things have to be considered. But it was, th- there's some good pick. And I mean, how much more proof do you need that smaller guys can still play the game? Like,
I,
I mean, Seth
even if you just take
and
Stankoven, even ignoring the other
Stankoven
guys.
alone, yeah. Like, they're not huge. They don't have to be. They can be dynamic. And that's really the difference. Small
Yeah.
great things can come in small packages too. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
yeah,
for me, A minus B plus on the draft. Only because I don't think there's any guy in there where you're like, that kid is definitely making the squad. You know what I mean? Everybody
Yeah.
there's a couple of like highly likelies, and there's a couple of like, well, it depends on the kid and how, is he going to put in the work? Other than that, I would give him a higher score. But for me, it's like an A minus B plus because I think for what was available and what the Kings did, I'm really happy. I love the fact that they went after a goaltender first. I really love the fact that they went after a couple of bigger defensemen. I would have loved to have seen like a 6'3" center in there, but those are not a dime a dozen. So what are you gonna do?
No, exactly. I had him at a B, and I mean, this is all feel, and you never know how these things are going to turn out. And the one thing that just stuck into my head was, we've got another Coach Chetkov coming in, and I don't know how much my heart can take. So that was really what I looked at. You know what I mean? But you know what? There won't be too many complaints from anyone else about having another one that is his kind of style play. You know what I'm saying?
If he becomes
He's
another
going to be
Pookie,
exciting.
the fans will be happy.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I gave him a B. They did well based on what they always do.
And it's a little different. I don't know how you're judging. Like I'm judging them in a box, right? So, the Islanders had an A. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, with what the Kings had to work with, their picks, their availability, I'm really happy with what they were able to do. Real quickly,
and you can trust. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and no problem. Restricted free agents. Just to give a quick rundown: Skylar Brindamore, Dominic Fensor, Yanov Peretz, Ty Smith, Ryan Suzuki. Also Noel Gunler, Anthony Honka, and Ronan Seeley. Although the last three did not play for the Canes, they were back overseas. They're not going to be qualified, I don't think.
No.
Unrestricted free agents. Juha Jaska has re-signed with the Hurricanes. Eric Robinson has re-signed with the Hurricanes. Those are off the list. Brent Burns, who I'm just going to tell you now, Brent Burns is coming back. Stamp it, put money on it. If FanDuel gives you odds that whether or not Brent Burns come back, Brent Burns come back. I'm just be prepared. If you're like me and it's not something you want, it's going to happen. Other notables, Tyson Yost, Spencer Martin, Dmitry Orlov. I would kind of expect all three of those to not be qualified. Jack Roslovic, Riley Stillman, Dustin Tokarski. Stillman probably get a contract. I think Roslovic is probably gone. Tokarski might stick around in the AHL. And then Rionen, Ryan, and Selgren, who did not play in the Canes organization last year, are unrestricted. They will not be signed. So
Jaska's pleased to see that he was re-signed. I was, in the limited time that he had playing up there, he was not out of place. He performed well, and so he's got a decent future. I really loved Robinson being re-signed. I think, and maybe this is a glimmer of hope for you who would prefer not to have him back, but hope he lands somewhere else to go for the Ironman. I think what happens on the first and immediately afterwards is going to have a lot to say about whether he comes back or not. Orlov is gone. I just do not see them bringing him back. And we got some talent back there, but there's also good D out there as well. I'm looking at you, Ekblad. You know what I mean?
And we were discussing this before. So Sam Bennett is one of the big players off the board. He is re-signed in Florida. Florida has $11 million to sign Marchand and Ekblad, but they only have, I think it's 10 forwards signed. I think they have 5 defensemen. So Florida is in a crunch. If they're bringing back Marchand and or Ekblad, even one of them would be difficult, although doable. Both of them would be impossible the way it stands. And Dallas, we were laughing because Shayna Goldman, who I respect a lot over at The Athletic, I really like the way she writes and her coverage, but she, several times was like, like Dallas might be in on, Bennett, Ekblad, Marner. Dallas has less than $1 million of cap space. They have 10 forwards signed.
Wow.
Period. So they need to sign 2 forwards for $1 million, which means they're going to be moving out a forward or a defenseman. They got to move out somebody. Once they move out somebody, you have to sign 3 guys instead of 2. So whatever contract you move out needs to be able to support 3 guys coming back, which means it's going to be a big contract. So I don't know what their plan is because they already have 2 or 3 guys signed to ELCs on the roster right now.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. So I'm not sure what the plan is, but the plan should not include Marner or Ekblad or Marchand if you're Dallas.
Yeah, I mean,
if it does, then you're bringing in like Marchand in exchange for Roberts, for Robertson or similar. I mean, if you bring in Marner, I hope they do bring in Marner. That would kill that franchise, quite frankly. I actually like decently, but like you bring in another $14 million guy, then you have to give up Robertson or Ottinger plus another, well-paid player. I mean, it's not happening.
I mean, it would require a Houdini type form of magic for them to pull something like that off, to stay under the cap and fill out their roster. Now, look, if they have how was it put to us before, the pantry shelf. If their pantry shelf is pretty full, like it is for us, you can bring a bunch of guys up and see where you go or whatnot, but Dallas is just not going to be. And what hurts them the most is Rantanen, is signing Rantanen.
Oops.
And I mean, that really handcuffs them. That whole contract, that whole situation handcuffed them. And that's like the game of poker. You push all your chips in and believe that you've got the hand, and you run into a cooler and it just
Jim
work
Neal
out.
did exactly that. Jim Neal went to win this year and didn't.
Yep.
And completely screwed himself going forward. And to your point, they not only don't have the picks and prospects that Carolina has, but because of the cap crunch, they have to move out money. Like, you have to move out something of value to bring back something of lesser value. It's the only way you can be cap compliant and pick up 2 more forwards. There is no magic 8-ball where you get back a Marner and only give up, auxiliary pieces. It can't happen. That's not how money works.
And going 1 for 1 does nothing for them. They
Correct.
have to take, like, if they're looking at filling out their roster, they have to give up, a very talented player to get 2 or 3 other ones that can fill the roles. For the same money or less.
Yeah, they have $1 million, which means you either bring in somebody on like an ELC type deal, in which case you need to move out a player to get 2 in return.
Yep.
Or that's probably not feasible. You really need to move out 1 player to get 3 in return, or 2 players to get 4 in return. The math isn't mathing well for Jim Neal, and I'm perfectly okay with it. So
I've never been good at math, but it's plain as day. It's plain as day. They're in trouble. And I feel bad for our previous guest who followed Stank over and over. She might become more of a Hurricane fan than Dallas. in the
That'd
coming.
be smart. That'd be smart. That'd be a good time to do
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
it. To switch gears,
Yeah.
we're gonna go through and grade the Canes, right?
Yeah.
We've been going 45 minutes or so now, so hopefully we can do this in half an hour or so,
Yeah.
which gives us maybe a minute-ish per player, which isn't a lot. So, but this
Not
will
a
help
lot of
us
time.
keep it concise, or you might just be like, look, some guys we just know they're an A or an F or whatever, and we
Yeah.
don't, it doesn't need to be elaborate. So whatever we're gonna do. So we're gonna do that now.
Okay.
And if we don't run too long, I think we will try and include coaches and GMs and whatnot as well.
Yeah, I'd like to do it. Absolutely. And a lot of it's pretty self-explanatory. So,
all right. Well, all right, Ray, let's start with the forwards. Like, we're just going to go down the roster page. Sebastian Aho, right? Your number one center. End of the year with 74 points. That's like 0.94 points per game. 23, I think it is, power play points, 9 game-winning goals. It's another A year for Aho. I mean, Aho has another level that I think would still like to see him reach, particularly in the playoffs. But overall, I mean, he comes in and you really don't have to worry about him. Well, I know we do for short stretches, or like, hey, what's going on here? But in the end, every year, the body work is good.
A minus for me. I hate putting the minus in there because he's my boy and I love Fishy to death. But you're right, just and need that extra level. If we went way back in the time machine, I was the one who said this is his 100-point season. And he fell short. And, to me, I'm looking for more out of him. Mostly just to tell everyone, he is a superstar. Okay. He is. Mm-hmm. He is. We know it. And everyone would want him on their team. So A- for me.
More than fair. I tell you what, let's do snake draft order. So I'll give you the name and you go first on this one.
Sure.
Jackson Blake. Oh,
he's an A. He's an A. He's an A because of what he did as a rookie, and didn't get he didn't get a lot of consideration in the way of rookie of the year. But you and I and every Caniac saw it, and it was absolutely clear that he sees the game. His hockey IQ, as they like to describe it, is off the charts. And he flourished on the top line. There's not many rookies that do that. He was very, very good.
I'm with you. I think it's an easy A for Jackson Blake. Yep. The kid has vision. The kid has the skills. His timing needs a little bit of adjustment, I think.
Yep.
He will get quicker with making those decisions. So I think there's nothing but upside right now with Jackson Blake. All the people
he goes to the front of the net too.
He does. Every time I see a trade for Thomas Hertl, Marner, whomever, and they're like, we need to give up 2 firsts in Jackson Blake. Why? Why on earth would you do that? A prospect, maybe. Jackson Blake has played in the show and shows the kid is a gamer. Absolutely not. So
yeah.
William Carrier hurt a good chunk of the year.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Carrier like a B+. He did exactly what he's supposed to do. It felt like when he came back, he was a little unsettled there for just a little bit.
Yeah.
But overall, very happy. I'm still really excited to have him locked up long term.
Yeah, for the contract that he's under and what he brings, like the sandpaper out there, I've got him a solid B as well. And he perhaps could have been more had he not been injured for as long as he was. That might have meant different things as well better gelling on the third line where he was kind of slotted for, right? So, yeah, B for me.
Taylor Hall.
I was really excited about him re-signing, and he's going to be a great mentor. The playoffs, though, confounded me. I don't want to say he completely disappeared, but based on that alone, I had to give him like a B minus. Um, it just, he played well enough to get himself locked into a winning team, but I expected more of him in the playoffs and didn't get it. And so B minus is where I have him. And I'm hoping that this one doesn't come back to bite us in the butt.
I had him like a B, and I could definitely see the B minus for kind of the same reasons. I kind of went with a B because, in part, I think you signed him because of that leadership.
Yeah.
Because we saw Svechnikov kind of regain some form this year after Hall came back. Now, that could just be Svech's knee finally feeling 100%. Could be Hall's leadership, but Hall will be a great mentor. So I'm giving him some credit for that in addition to his on-ice play. I definitely think he earned that contract. It's cheap enough where you can slot him into 3 and 4 if you need to. But I think, I think he's a good pickup. He plays Canes hockey smartly in a way that makes sense. He has some leadership qualities, and I mean, he can still put the puck in the net. He's still got 18 points in 31 games for us. So overall, I think he played well. I'm hoping with a full season training camp and everything, I'm hoping we do see a little more out of him.
The mentorship will be big in my eyes.
Same. Juha Jaska. He played 18 games for the Canes, had 9 points. No, I'm sorry, he had 4 points and 9 penalty minutes. Nothing to write home about. I gave him a B just because I thought, he came in and kind of did his job. Nothing that makes me super excited, like, oh my gosh, like, a Jackson Blake style. But I think he earned himself a new contract. And so I'm, to me, a C is average, right? So C means you came in and you did kind of the bare minimum-ish.
Yeah.
And he did above that. So I think he got a B.
To me, it was a C plus. And the only reason why I say that has more to do with the lack of eyes on him. We didn't get to see him enough to make a really good assessment. And so some of these players, that we have in the roster, if you don't get to see him long enough, you don't get a feel. You know what I mean? And so, I gave him a C plus. I understand why he was picked up, and he's big and he played well, but just need more time.
Yeah, I kind of gave him the B for the same but opposite reason, meaning wasn't expecting a lot. We didn't see him a lot, but I don't remember any incidents of going, what the heck was Juha thinking?
Doing?
You know what I mean? Like you didn't screw anything up so bad that I worried about it. So you must have been fine.
Yeah, you know what? When they called him up, he was serviceable and doing his job. So I understand your side.
I get yours.
Too,
I
sure.
totally get yours too. So yeah. Mark Jankowski, this is one that I thought would be an interesting one.
It is. Man, I don't feel comfortable about this. I'm only giving him a B plus, and again, for the same reason. We didn't get to see enough of him. Sometimes he didn't crack the lineup based on just how you were building the roster. But I see that there could be very big things from him. You know what I mean? And he could be what, Calgary thought he was going to be when he was drafted in Carolina. Just a late bloomer, and he might surprise a lot of people. And man, he's got size. He's got the size we need, right? So, I'm not comfortable with that one either. But I say B plus, and he was very, very good in the face-off dot as well.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with
No,
that.
I gotta stay with that. I thought about bumping him up to A minus. He's right there. He's right there.
So if it makes you feel better, I was debating between a B and a B minus, only because and this some of this is personal bias, right? He was not
Right.
brought in to score goals.
No.
He comes in, he gets 4 and 4, and you're just like, wow. And I didn't hold that against him in my rating, just to be fair. But like you're like, oh man, this is potential. He ends up with 8 points, I think. The thing I like about him the most is he had 8 goals and no assists. Good for
Yeah.
you, Mark Jankowski. When the puck's on your stick, you shoot. You keep doing that. I want you to do that forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was brought in to fill a niche to give us another face-off guy, right? He is
Yep.
left-handed, but he did win more than half of his draws. Yeah, I think he did fine. I think there is more to his game, which is why I didn't rate him higher. But that's why I was like B minus. So I ended up with a B because I think there is more to see from him, and I think some of that is with the way the roster was constructed, where he was subbed out for Roslovic and things. He didn't quite get as much flow in time as I would like.
Yeah.
And with this coming season's roster, I'm hoping like just, you know, if he was a hexagonal peg in an octagonal hole last year, maybe we can get a hexagon to a hex. You know what I mean? Like he
I hear you.
Just kind of piecemealing together a little bit the whole team. Next year, I think we see a little more. I think there's more to be had out of Mark Jankowski. So
absolutely.
Seth Jarvis is an A. I mean, Seth Jarvis is your number 2 point guy. He's a plus 12. He played another season on a bum shoulder. He went to 4 nations and cooked. I mean, for the youngest guy on the team, like and did himself in Carolina proud. I don't know how you give him anything other than an A. I mean, this kid, make him your second line center if you can't find one.
That's what surprises me and what I believe will happen, just because 2Cs are hard to find out there. And he's great in the dot. When you look at how many times Aho was thrown out of the face-off circle for the power play, who was the guy that went in? It was always Jarvis, and he keeps trying to get better. I mean, and the fact that he played on a bum shoulder again and still performed that way, he's A plus for me. Like honestly, he's an A plus for me. That's all there is to it.
If you could have 23 Seth Jarvises,
two
of which have goaltending ability, you'd be a front runner in the league, right?
You absolutely would. Although, man, the locker room would be just a gong show, wouldn't it?
It'd be Mountain Dew and Xboxes everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Tyson Jost.
I wouldn't mind bringing him back. A completely serviceable C plus for me. I mean, he filled the role that he needed to fill without issue, without complaint. It's hard being the guy that sits in the press box a lot and then being expected to turn it on, immediately afterward and perform, especially in Rod's system. And he did. So he probably deserves a little bit better than a C plus in the way I ranked him. But you know what? I had no issues. I had no issues with him. None. He did
fine.
His job. And that's what I appreciate most.
Yeah, I also gave him a C plus just to throw it out there for the same reason. He's not going to be a game changer. He's probably not going to be a guy who's going to swing a series for you. But he came in, filled his role without complaint, unlike other guys we've had in the past, and did just exactly what you expect of him, but not more, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't ever remember being like, wow, Tyson Jost really went out of his way and made a great play or changed the game. It was just he went in and he did his job, which is fine. A C is passing, right? So
100%.
yeah, I'm with you. Um, another tough one I think for those of us who like the guy, Jesperi Kotkaniemi,
Yeah.
12 goals, 21 assists for 33 points for the guy slotted as 2C. Um, I gave him a C after a lot of debate
Yeah.
because I'm not going to fault him in his score for being overslotted at this point. I get that he was the third overall pick. I get that we want him, like I want him to be the second line center. It's not who he
Yeah.
is. So he's overslotted by a line because because Jordan Stahl is still on the team.
Yes.
So I'm not going to knock him hard for that. Another guy who, without complaint, gets taken out of the lineup, gets dropped to the fourth line for things that other guys get away with and seem to have no repercussions. And I don't get it. And maybe it's not maybe in theory it's not a punishment, right? He's not being dropped to the fourth line for play. He's being dropped to the fourth line for something else. Although Rod's comments tend to make you understand that is what happened.
Yeah.
KK as a shutdown 3C who we're not expecting to score a bunch of points.
But
I think
check
would be
hard.
fine.
Yeah.
You know, Jordan Stahl had 36 points. KK ended up with 33, which is not good for a 2C, but it'd be fine if he was the 3C. And the contract is fine if he's the 3C. But he's paid too much to be the 4C, and he's not good enough to be the 2C. And I'm not going to fault Jesperi. Jesperi comes in and does this thing. I would love to see him traded, as I've said before, because I think he would get a better shot somewhere else because we don't have the role that he should be playing in Carolina. And unless Stahl retires or something to that nature, we're not going to have it for 2 more years. So why, bring the kid along for 2 more years?
That's yeah, he's a victim of circumstance there. They signed him for the long term. I think a lot of people were surprised, maybe a little surprised in the organization that Stahl was coming back for the length of the contract that he had. And so signing him for the long term as the fill-in for that spot, one of the things that I kind of wondered is why every now and again they didn't put Stahl in the 2C and let KK play in the 3C. Let him play with those guys. There's no limitation, and Stahl's better on the face-offs, right?
Yeah.
So if you want your second line to pop, you got to win the draw, especially when you're a puck control team. That's how we do well. So I'm surprised it didn't happen. Sadly, I gave KK a D plus. I need more.
Yeah.
I just need more. And it's, we've defended him pretty hard because of the things that he does that don't show up on the score sheet. But now he's got to score. He's got to score, or he has to be traded.
I was in Carolina, he has to score. Anywhere else, he can go anywhere today as a 3C with that contract and the cap going up, I think, and play really well. I'm kind of expecting that, if I'm honest. This is also the last year of the reduction buyout, too.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to buy him out, but if they did, I would not be surprised.
Well,
just to say that out loud. I don't think it's going to happen, but if I woke up and you were like, "Oh my God, Brad, they bought out KK," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm not fully surprised by that."
Yeah.
Jordan Martinook.
He's an A. He's an A always. Just in spirit alone, what he does for the team, he keeps everyone loose. He works hard all the time. He's an A, and it's all about attitude and the role that he plays on that squad. And he's got one of the best attitudes of anyone I've ever seen in the league. for the role that he plays and stuff. He doesn't
Mhm.
have to be the star to be big and mean a lot for the team. He's an A.
Yep. I want to give him a C, Ray.
Oh my. Wow,
captain.
there's our first. Oh, there you go. Okay, jeez, you totally. Yeah, okay. You know what?
Make
I
that
walked
man the
into
captain.
that one.
That dude, I'm sorry, Jordan Martinook is an A+ in my book. He puts up 36 points, which is right behind, he's 12 points behind Svechnikov, who's supposed to be your top winger.
Yeah,
He has the attitude, he has leadership, he gets guys going. Like, you want to talk about clutch goals? Like, Jordan Martinook finds a way to make differences
yeah,
more often than a third line winger should, quite frankly.
yeah.
He
Good
should.
call.
I know people love Aho, and Aho as captain would not bother me a bit. If Aho wants it, make it Aho.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about Aho to know. Otherwise, like, give it to Jordan Martinook, like today. Like, don't wait. So
yeah,
glad I got you though.
yeah. Of course, you did.
Eric Robinson, man. It doesn't always translate to points, but Eric Robinson put up 32 points and was a +14. He is an A to me. Eric Robinson is everything I want in my bottom 6 wingers.
Yeah,
Works hard, doesn't complain, does his job, stays, plays positionally well, puts 30 points on the board. I'm in.
He's a bulldog, and he's sneaky quick. He's sneaky quick. Have him as a B+. Okay, that's not to besmirch him. I like his game. I like his game. He skates so hard, and he's that puck pursuit guy. And you could see because he played a little bit of time with Stankoven as well. And you're never getting the puck out of the other. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be forechecking all the time. They are so feisty. And that one goal that he scored I think it was against Florida in the playoffs, him coming down off the wing and drops his shoulder a little bit and goes far side. Oh, thing of beauty.
I mean, that's worth half a letter.
Yeah. Just beautiful. Just beautiful.
Love him. Jack Roslovic. This was hard for me.
This one, I gave him a C-. I expected a little bit more out of him. He started out on fire and then completely disappeared. If you looked at the start of the season and said that he was going to sit a good portion of the playoffs, I would have thought you're nuts, right? And he was doing what you want, right? You want him to be a shoot first kind of guy, and he was proving that he could. But where did he go in the middle of the season? And the end, I mean, it was nice to see him on there, but I expected more out of him on the power play as well. A little bit more room for him, and he was going to do more. And it just didn't happen.
I gave him a C because of the hot start versus like a C-. Because we were expecting him to come in and feel, we knew, because he had whooped on us the year before, that he can play.
Oh yeah.
He comes in with a hot start and you're like, okay, well, this is way above where we expected, which is, we'll take it. But like, at some point he's going to regress to the mean. Fine. I'm okay with that. The thing that stood out to me, you just mentioned, he only had 2 power play points, I think, the whole year. And one goal and 1 assist, which is just not good enough.
No.
And the other part of that is, and this goes back to the Mark Jankowski thing, which is, okay, well, this is kind of trying to fit an almost round peg into an almost round hole, you know, of this season. And it was a fit that seemed to be working great, and then he just fell off out of nowhere. So he's a guy I don't expect back. I had a quick conversation with one of our fans and one of our friends, because Jack Roslovic's kid plays for the Junior Canes, so the kid's kind of wondering where he's going to be playing next year too. You know what I mean? Like, so I felt bad
Yeah.
for his kid, but I don't see them bringing him back unless there's not another option out there. Not that he didn't play well, but you have to kind of say, okay, well, if you subtract the first month of the season out of there, what does he look like? And the answer was okay at
Not
best,
enough.
but not good
Yeah.
enough. And you can upgrade there, even if you upgrade with some size and some speed or somebody who can get you more than. I mean, he had fewer power play points than Brent Burns, which he didn't spend as much time in the power play. Don't get me wrong, but
No. Yeah.
two power play
Understood.
points, in out of 82 games is not many. So Jordan Stahl, I gave Jordan Stahl a B. He's still a shutdown guy. He's still not going to put up a ton of points. He put up 36, which is fine. I said for Martinook, that's what you want out of your third line guy, so there's no complaint there. He was a plus 15. I could be easily talked in like a B plus. My issues with Jordan Stahl, and this is more personality than on ice, but when they're going through those doldrums and things, and I get that what we see publicly is not necessarily what's going on in the locker room, but Jordan
Yeah.
doesn't feel like the kind of guy who's going to push that team. Aho wrote the letter to the fans. We're not good enough. Martinook is out there, loud and proud about how he's feeling. And I get that Jordan's a reserve guy. I'm not saying you should switch that, but I want more out of my captain than what I saw from Jordan Stahl.
Yeah. B minus for me. I mean, he's doing what he does. And he's still, as far as, penalty killing and stuff, he's the guy that you want out there. Again, winning the draw is so important, right? Especially, yeah, B minus. B minus. I don't know how much more you can put into that. He does what he does, but um,
He does
nothing
what he does
to.
well, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's like going to, if you go to Burger King and you get a burger, it's going to be a Burger King burger. It's not the best burger, but it's
yeah,
going to be consistent. You know exactly what you're getting, but that
it's the
doesn't make it a
same.
grade A burger,
Yeah,
right?
understood.
That doesn't make it a
Understood.
Wagyu, you know,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
Logan Stankoven.
if someone put a Wagyu into a burger, you'd need them to be like
You can
buried
get that here.
because
It's
yeah.
$32, but you can get one here.
Oh
Not a
man.
Burger King though.
No, I don't think so.
Logan Stankoven, sir.
Oh, he's I mean, I when you're born to be a hurricane, as Eric called him, and then you see it, and I give him an A plus to me. And I knew what he looked like. I got a little bit better look at um him because you get a chance to see Dallas a little bit more further out west. And there was a lot of clutching of pearls when they lost him for good reason, for really good reason. He's so young and so small, but man, he's like the pinball out there, and he is super fast. He know like I love when there's a puck chase and you see that Stankoven's involved, and you're like, even if he doesn't make it to the puck first, he's going to be such a nuisance to the guy that has it. They're going to make a mistake. Stankoven and people were clutching pearls here too. Why did you only get Stankoven? I'm like, sit and watch.
Yeah.
Sit and watch.
I gave Logan an A minus. He needs to tighten things up defensively, and that's just a stylistic thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really criticizing him. He was a -3 at 9 points in 19 games. Nothing wrong with that. A
Mhm.
full season here and training camp and everything will be wonders for him. But everything else about his game, like you said, the speed, the tenacity, the not afraid of getting hit or giving hits. I mean, he threw some hits against boys much bigger than him especially during the playoffs. I was really impressed. So A
Yeah,
minus for me for Logan. Andrei Svechnikov.
this is going to
And I
hurt.
tried to determine how much of it's recency bias with what he did in the playoffs versus the regular season. I ended up giving Andre a C plus as my
Mm,
favorite player. I'm probably more critical of him than I am of other guys, but for your top line winger, you need more than 20 goals. You need more than 48 points. You need a guy who's going to get in front of the net. You need a guy who is going to retrieve pucks. You need all the things that he did in the playoffs that we know he is capable of needs to translate throughout the year. Now, he doesn't have to be an ace throughout the regular season if he can come on in the playoffs like he did. So, but in general, his general level of play next year needs to be improved.
you're not going to like my rating. I am on the other end of that. I have C minus,
Oh, I thought I
and
was going to be much lower than you.
yeah, it was just it's just not enough. It's not enough. And he's got so much, right? You see him out there trying and so forth, but how many penalties does he take? With his stick. And yes, there's a penalty bias against him. That shouldn't be a factor. He's big. He can knock it down. He is not playing like the power forward that he is.
Right. That's the thing. And
That
our friend RB said, if he has a terrible regular season and turns it on the playoffs, is all forgiven? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely it
But
is.
that's different than being honest about great, you know what I mean? Like no, he needs to be better in general. Especially against
Yeah,
a team like Florida where his size and his skill set can change the course of a game.
there's no question. There's no question. But just, you know what? Too many penalties, and they always seem to be at the wrong end of the ice.
Always in the
They're
offensive
always
zone.
they're always in the offensive zone. And again, penalty bias, but dude, find a way to stay out of the box. Like if you know they're watching you, you got to have the common sense to not give them a reason to do it.
You
You
gotta
can
change it
be a
up.
power forward, but yeah, and shoot more. Please shoot more.
Yes.
He's so
Um,
talented.
one extra forward real quick. Miko Rantanen. I'm kidding. Kidding. Don't grade Miko Rantanen. That's an there's not a grade
Uh,
to describe how bad Miko Rantanen was here.
F minus? Is there such a thing?
The only person who might receive a score as bad as Miko Rantanen, Brent Burns,
Yeah. Okay, so you got me going first on this one.
was
Uh,
not on
I,
purpose, but I'm kind of glad I do.
yeah, you know what? He to me, and only because of how well he played defensively in the playoffs, does he get anything other than a D plus for me. That's the only way. He he is not the player that he is purported to be. Look, mentorship means a lot to me, and that's what he does. He's got character and he's got leadership but he is put in the wrong place. And the way he played defense in the playoffs, there can be no argument. Defensively, he was sound, very sound. Did not make the mistakes that he made in the regular season. He just didn't. He found the new way to be. But that's the only thing that prevents a lower uh, grade for me, a
Yeah,
D plus.
I gave him a C minus, kind of for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And part of this is like going back to KK. Some of this is because I don't blame him for being misused.
Yeah.
Rod keeps talking about how Burns gets pucks to the front of the net on power play. He doesn't. He had 3 power play points in 82 games, and he had 1 in the playoffs. His power play time is cooked.
Yeah.
When they re-sign him, he should not be allowed anywhere near the power play. If you have to put Eric Stahl on there. I keep saying Eric Stahl today, man. My goodness. Put Jordan Stahl on the power play. He's a defensive forward. Let him be your 5th guy. But don't let it be Brent Burns unless something greatly improves to Burns' shot, because Burns' shot is cooked. So I gave him a C-. He did find a game. He was able to actually start really playing much more responsibly. It wasn't great, but it was solid in the playoffs. But he's slow. And that's an age thing. He's not going to be faster next year. His shot is not going to be harder next year. So he does have those intangibles. He can help dictate. Like I'm sure he would be a phenomenal coach. You know?
Yeah.
But he needs to not play any power play minutes.
You know, sorry, if I could just jump in. He doesn't have to have that booming shot that he had before where no one wanted to try to get in front and block it. But good things happen when he gets the puck to the front of the net, and he just hasn't been able to. He doesn't get it through. And when he is on the blue line, the worst thing that can happen is not, making an attempt at a shot and getting it blocked at the blue line. Because now you're chasing the puck. It's a grade A chance on the other end. He's like, if he can just get the puck to the net, better.
Third line minutes and pair him with somebody who's let him be the defensive guy. Don't like Brent Burns should not be. I mean, he got 29 points, but all but 3 of them were at regular, at 5-5. And a lot of those were secondary assists, which is fine, but he's not a power play specialist anymore, Rod. He's not.
No, he's not.
Jalen Chatfield. I love Chatfield. I gave Chatfield a B+. He had, and some of this might have been his partner this year. He had some major brain farts at times this year. He's still got the speed. He still can be physical. But there were some games when I was just like, I don't know what you're doing, man. Some of that's because you're maybe trying to overcompensate for your partner. But some of that's just, I don't know what you're doing. So B+, I think this was not Jalen's best year here, but I'm also not worried about it.
I had him a little higher. I had him as an A- for a different reason. And it was in the playoffs. Never has there been a greater difference in the defensive lineup than with Jalen Chatfield not in that lineup. When they lost him, they lost a lot. The speed, the defensive aware, and you know what? Like playing with Orlov, he was the one that was more responsible. And look what happened to the D in the playoffs when he was out, when he was injured.
Yeah. I think that's as much about what happened with Burns and Orlov just falling off a cliff. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. Like, Chatfield in gives you a much better chance of beating Florida. Like, way, way, way better.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
A-.
Shane Gostisbehere.
I like him as a B. I like him as a B. He did really, really well on the power play. He's the quarterback that we wanted. Like he is who TA was supposed to be. He actually, though, produces, but his D is just, there's a reason why Walker was tied to him, because if you don't have someone like Walker with him, that's defensive liability. in my eyes.
Yeah.
And now, do I like? I mean, I want to give it an A plus for shooting the puck at Marchand, like he did in the playoffs. I want to give him that, but yeah, his defensive liability sometimes bad things have happened when the puck is in our end while he's on the ice. Bad
Yeah,
things
I
happen.
gotcha. I went with a B plus. He did have 27 power play points, and 28 5v5, and he did end the year +1,
So
which is
yeah,
because he's put up a lot of points.
yeah.
I agree. He for the role he fills it very well.
Mhm.
I'd love to see him score a few more points in general, but
Yeah.
overall, he comes in and kind of does what his role is in limited minutes. I would like to see him become a little more defensively responsible, just so you can expand those minutes some, so they're not quite
Yes.
so sheltered. But I get it at the same time. Like if he's going to keep up putting up, 27 power play points, then okay, like it is, and that was mostly on power play too, because Burns was
Yeah.
on power play 1 for some unknown reason with his 3 points.
For
So
someone who puts up as many points as he can, it stinks that he has to be sheltered.
yes,
That's the problem,
yeah,
because he can produce things in other areas as well, but you've got to shelter him because he's not
yeah.
very good on D. I'm
Scotty
sorry,
Morrow.
guys. Look, he was put in a terrible position in the playoffs because of the injuries, and uh, to me, he's a B. To me, he's a B. He's got skill. He's got talent. That's probably a little high. Again, we didn't get to see a lot of him this season, so hard to make a judge. Me saying B, even though we didn't get to see a lot of him, and I liked how, even though he made mistakes, he was put in the worst position possible. The worst position possible to come into the playoffs on a team that wants to get to the Stanley Cup final. And that's when you're thrown in. Man,
I'm with you. I
he
gave him a
did a
B.
lot.
He wasn't
Yeah.
ready for the playoffs, and that's
No.
a coaching failure, not a Scotty Morrow failure.
Yeah.
No.
Agreed.
Alexander Nikishin, I also gave a B for the exact same reason. I know he didn't sign and come over till late, but they kept holding him out, not signing him, saying, well, he might play to Chicago. He was not going to Chicago. The evidence to me is really clear.
Yeah.
So the first game he gets in is in New Jersey, and he looks like a guy who just came to North America and played his first game. So clearly, with both of those guys, the talent levels are there, I think.
Yeah.
Just too small of a sample size and the wrong time of year. You just can't judge them by a couple of playoff games.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, I mean, people forget again what's seared in my mind for him. I'm the same way, put in a tough spot. But what's seared in my mind is him taking the puck away from his hero in the final game. I mean, he that's to get a chance to play against a hockey god in your country and to take the puck away from him like it was nothing. That was impressive. That's seared into my mind. And it makes me think of what his potential is going to be. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Dmitry Orlov.
Ooh. Look,
Is ooh a grade? I think ooh is a good grade for Dmitry Orlov.
that might be. No, I hit him pretty hard for his disappearance in the playoffs. He was playing much better, and again, he paired with Jalen Chatfield at the start of this season. They were the best pairing we had.
They were
They were the best pairing that we had. I don't think I can forgive him for the way he played against Florida. There were some awful mistakes, terrible. And was that because Chatfield wasn't there? See, that's the thing. How much of his warts were covered by the heavy makeup and foundation that Chatfield provided for him?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's really, if any one individual player suffered more with Chatfield, aside from the whole team being out, it was Orlov. And man, I was so disappointed in him. This is a recency bias. I give him a C minus, and I don't even feel good about that. I don't
gave him a
even feel
D
good about.
because
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think Chatfield covered for a lot of things. Orlov had the biggest drop off on the team, and on a team with Brent Burns, that's not good.
No.
So I gave him a D because without Chatfield, he looked completely lost out there. So,
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was Chatfield, how much maybe it's injury. Like, we don't know, but just the eye test was bad. Good luck to him wherever he ends up next year. But I can't see any way that he's back.
That game tie, was it the game tying goal, or was it was the game winning goal against Florida in the final game that I will just never forgive him for,
Yeah.
ever. It was you just finished tying the game. Seth Jarvis gives you that lift that you need, ties the game. Man, there was excitement, all the momentum on your side. Verhaeghe scores because Orlov just totally, totally and completely botched the play. I'll never forgive him for that.
I hear you. The opposite of the spectrum, Jacob Slavin. I gave Slavin an A. I mean, he was 27 points and a plus 16 playing against the best players in the league. I don't know what else there is to say. He went to Four Nations and absolutely sold it. Everybody's talking about him as they should. He should, if the Norse was really about the best defenseman in the league, and I know that people have their own interpretation of what that means, he should be in the top 5 in voting every year. Even if you want to give it to guys who have more offense, like the fact that he is not perennially in the discussion is criminal. So I give Jacob Slavin an A.
Every expert says the same thing. He's A plus to me. His performance in the Four Nations has a little to do about my decision there, and I'll go that one step further. And you've heard me say this before: if they ever created a trophy for the best defensive defenseman, it would be named the Jacob Slavin Award, and he would win it almost every year. There are a few other guys that are comparable, but
of this generation, he's the
there's
king.
no one better. In my eyes, there is no one better on the planet. And I wish he was Canadian. Oh my God, I wish he was Canadian. A plus. I want to say A plus plus. If there was, that's the kind of that you want
Gold
to
star.
just say. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to skip Ty Smith and Riley Stillman, only because of the limited access. Right? They played 8 and 5 games respectively. Whatever grade we give them is based on 8 and 5. I'm sure it's going to be like a B because we didn't see enough of them, and they filled in. They did their job. Neither of them was terrible. Awesome.
Yeah. Agreed.
Sean Walker.
You know what? He grew as the season went along. I think I expected maybe too much from him. I think I thought too much or I expected too much, and it took him a long time to grow. But man, he was great at the end of the season, and he's a guy really that, depending on how the free agency market goes, that I could easily see bumped up to Slavin. and be his partner. I could see that.
Yeah,
And
I don't
so
think that's a terrible idea.
to me, he started out as a B minus. By the end of the season, you saw the growth. I gave him an A minus. I really like his play. And to be
Yeah.
able to shield and help Gostisbehere as much as he did, but then he also in the playoffs he showed he's got offensive capabilities as well. He's been able to get the puck to the net, and Walker worked his way up to an A minus for me, and that's all just in build up. I expected perhaps too much, and so I would have graded him lower, but and this is recency bias. Yeah, he would be a great pair with Slavin. A minus.
Yeah, I gave him a B. He was a -7, one of the lone minuses on the team over the course of the season, which is just unusual. I mean, Jack Roslovic, I think, was in Andrei Svechnikov were the only other guys who really joined him down there.
Yeah.
I thought he did fine. I thought being paired with Ghost, he's kind of having to pick up the slack where Ghost makes mistakes. So it's not really on him, but it is what it is, right? I think, if you paired him with somebody who was like a Slavin, I think he instantly becomes better because he's not having to cover for those turnovers of the blue line kind of deal. So I was really happy with him. I'm still think that was a really great signing, and we have him for I think another year or two. So
he's definitely a great signing.
Goaltenders. We're gonna leave out Nikita Quap because, I mean, why should we talk about Nikita Quap right now?
Yeah. Tokarski, didn't Tokarski play more than him for us?
And Martin. I mean, Nikita Quap is, and we're just going by the roster at Hurricanes.com, and he's the one listed third, so that's why I bring him up.
Yeah, 100%.
Frederik Andersen. What to say about Frederik Andersen? Frederik Andersen, when he got healthy, was very iffy for a while. It was a battle of who wants it less. And, both guys were just killing me. Freddie ended up the season with a 2.5 goals against, which is pretty darn good, but less than a .900 save percentage, which is not good.
Yeah.
And then you get playoff Andersen. You get chip on your shoulder Andersen, who gives up 2.02 goals, a .907 save percentage, and for most of the playoffs was the top 10D. How do you rank him? Is he okay? I didn't.
He still was. Even after the playoffs at the end, he had the best save percentage and goals against, even at the end. And that he played 5 less games.
And 2 shutouts. Freddie Andersen's season and as a whole, I went back and forth, and I ended up giving him the A- because the comeback from what he did again, even though he was middling for the season, the fact is he turned it on when you needed him. Like, if you just get to the playoffs and see what happens, and he took you in the playoffs and drug you kicking and screaming a little bit at times to say, no, we're gonna win this game, and that's what you desperately want from a goaltender. Unfortunately, he didn't get as much support as he needed from, during the Florida series. But up until then, I mean, and like you said, he's still the top ranked goaltender for the playoffs. I mean, he out Bobrovsky, like he went up against
crazy, right?
He literally, I haven't looked, but I'm assuming that the guys we played against were ranked no lower than 6th.
Yeah,
for goalies in the playoffs. I mean, he played against basically it was him and then the next 3 guys, and those are the 3 guys that we faced. So,
what more can you want? And if there's recency bias, I do have A- for that. I would always give him higher if he could play a full season. And we're going to get a lot of people cracking on us. How can you rank someone so high when he's so fragile? Just look at what we got in the playoffs. when you have a good D, a solid D in front of him, he is very hard to beat. He's stoic, he's focused, and you can identify when he's going to have a rough game because he loses the net a little bit. He loses position, right? And so that's when you know he's having issues and he's just not quite right, which is much easier to identify than the other person we're going to talk about. But yeah, A minus. And I'm just so proud of how well he played in the playoffs. He's only got a 1-year deal. So, we'll see him for at least one more season. I certainly hope it's a whole season to give him the chance that he deserves. And
keep him rested. Because playoff Anderson is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Pyotr Kochetkov is our last guy.
And I get to start with them.
Sorry, you got all the hard ones, I think.
Look. I'm going to take a lot of heat on this. And I've got big shoulders, but there are going to be a lot of people cracking on me. B minus. B minus. The wandering, the lack of focus at times, some of the worst goals I saw against us this season. He was the guy in net, and it was purely out of a lack of focus, right? When everything blew up in front of him, he wasn't able to be the guy to come to the rescue enough. How many of those games that we saw 3 goals in under 3 minutes, he was the one in net? Now, I know you can't blame him because everything's happening in front of you and they've turned terrible, forgotten how to play the game. That happened too many times for us. And Rod didn't call time out enough to stop it when it could have been stopped, to give the guys in front of him. You can't pin that on him, but at the same respect, he takes too many chances. When Martinook says you've got to put a shock collar on the man to keep him in the net, that says something. That type of feeling, see, that permeates through the rest of the team. That permeates through the rest of the team. If you don't feel confident that he back there with the style that he plays is not going to get you into trouble, you're not focusing on your game. You're worried about what's going to happen behind you. And if he would just not take so many chances, and for the love of, it shouldn't be a drinking game to see how many times he drops his stick. We'd all be hammered alcoholics, every last one of them. If we all had to take a shot every time he dropped his stick, we'd be hammered before the first period was over.
Yeah,
it's too much. It's too much, and I'm going to take heat for it. And whatever. That's my thought about him. When he's great, when he's good, he is phenomenal. But B minus. I'm sorry.
I also gave him a B minus. I don't think you can. So at this point, Kochetkov is like 25. He is who he is.
Yeah.
At this point, he's set. So what you see is what you're going to get in terms of dropping the stick, behind the goal, all those things. That's just not going to change at this point, most likely. I gave him a B minus because I'm not seeing him progress into being a better goaltender. Now, whether that is goalie coaching or him, or I don't know what the reason for that is, but we're not seeing him get better. We're seeing him be stagnant. And like you said, the problem with Kochetkov is he has a lower floor and a higher ceiling than Anderson.
Yes.
But if you catch him on a day when the floor is low, it looks ugly. And if you catch him on a day when the ceiling is really high, you get shut out. And you're like, no wonder the kid is quickly, and I mean quickly, climbing the Hurricanes all-time shutout leaders. I mean, he's skyrocketing up those charts for a reason.
Yeah.
But you don't know. It's very Jekyll and Hyde. And what we need out of a 25, 26-year-old goaltender is going to be more consistency. I think he ended the year sub 900 across the board. In the playoffs, look, he was dumped in a bad situation when Freddie got hurt. But I think he ended up with a 3.6 for goals against. I mean, you just can't do that. And I get that the team wasn't playing great around him, but some of those goals you just have to have. I love
you have to have the
I want to see that kid be our new number one because I feel like he has it in him. But at some point, the floor has to rise. You know, your worst game has to be better than your worst games currently are. So, I
guess, sorry, I just one last thing.
Yeah.
The B- and the dropping the stick thing. He doesn't just drop the stick. He throws it up in the air.
It goes.
There's a highlight of him throwing his stick 6 feet in the air. He threw it up there. What could he possibly? Maybe that's how you make it a drink. And maybe that's how you make it a drinking game instead of just dropping the stick. When he throws it up in the air, have a drink, have two, maybe.
He gets caffeinated for sure.
Oh my God.
If you're listening, you disagree with us, let us know. Pop on socials, pop on Blue Sky, pop on Facebook and say, you guys are dead wrong about this player and this is why. We'd love to hear from you. You can't really do polls on Blue Sky, so we can't really ask your opinions of that in that way. But we'd like to hear because I don't know. I think overall we were pretty fair. I think for a lot of the guys, I think we were at least in the same ballparks with our rationales and scores. So next time, we're going to look at coaching management, and hopefully it'll be after July 1st. Hopefully we'll have some incoming new players to talk about or some outgoing players, quite frankly. So
there's going to be a lot of craziness.
I don't want to start speculating about free agency right now because we're already going long, but it's going to be a good couple of weeks. It sounds like Marner may be on the move already. If Marner goes quickly, the dominoes will fall quickly. If Marner holds out, then things probably will slow down. So that's all you need to know right now.
100%. There's no one that knows how this is all going to shake out for everyone. The cap going up makes everything interesting, and we'll see. We're in a really great position, and Tulsky gets a chance to really prove himself this time. He's been through one season as a free agent experience, right? He's had just one under his belt where he was the guy in charge. Now let's see him cook. Okay, we know what to expect of him. It might look a little oddball, but you hit the nail on the head as far as Marner goes. If that deal is done on the 1st, as everyone thinks it might be, then there's going to be an unbelievable amount of movement and craziness going on. And I want Marner or Ekblad. I want Marner or Ekblad, and I would shuffle Seth over into center because he can play that.
Yeah.
And that's that. So
there we go.
I had to get that request in. Eric, I know you're listening. You love our program. We go way, 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 way back. Mostly because we're old and we've been around a little longer in our lives, but you're still the smartest guy. So Eric, thanks for listening to us. Go get Marner or Ekblad, and we'll feel real good about that. This was fun. We didn't do that as a Storm Report. We did it as grades. I think we may have proven that we should never be teachers, or at least I shouldn't be a teacher, because I have way, way I look at attitude too much. If I really liked
Attitude counts,
the
man.
kid who tried hard or whatever in school, but didn't do as well on the test, I might still grade him better. You know what I mean? And that's tough.
life.
You
That's how it
can't,
works.
yeah, you really can't do that if you're being fair to everyone. Great show. Loved it. A little long, but
Yeah. Well, we'll be back next
that's
week.
what to expected. Yeah. It could be, yeah, it could be even longer if Eric has his way. Thanks for listening. Please grade us. Let the Tool curmudgeons know if you think we're nuts and unfair, exactly why. And you know what? You can even call me names if you want.
Woohoo.
I mean, that's not very mature, but go ahead. I can take it. With that said, though, there really is only one thing left to say, which we should have said about 4 minutes ago. And that's go Canes.
Go Canes.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Ray and I greatly appreciate your support in helping us produce an informative and fun podcast. As always, we'd like to say that we believe hockey is for everyone. Whether you're a Caniac or a bunch of jerks, doesn't matter, as we're just a couple of jerks anyway. We would love to hear your questions, comments, and suggestions. We will do our best to answer anything hockey related. You can reach us via email at stormcellar97@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at stormcellar97, and on Facebook at facebook.com/stormcellar97.